guys, welcome to the CrossWalk podcast. Today we're doing another episode. Today's episode is going to be very different from normal. Usually when we come to you, we've done a lot of studying, we have a lot of notes in front of us, and we're prepared. Today's episode is going to be a bit different. It's going to be more of a conversation. We're going to be discussing the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk and the message that should bring to Christians. Because no one can deny the fact that this is probably one of the biggest events that's happened in recent American history. I mean, this seems to have had more of an impact than anything else that I can think of in immediate history. What about you?
It seems to, I think it's probably one of the bigger things that have happened. It definitely, I think, is bigger than the Trump getting shot last year. Yeah. It blew up way more and way faster. And this has affected actually the entire world. So you've had people come out in other countries, hold out protests and things like that, hold memorials. You had whole church services filled with thousands of people around the world, and it's insane to see this, and I'm glad we welcome it. It's amazing.
Charlie Kirk was an amazing man.
But it was so big that it overshadowed a lot of other events too, because there was the Paul overthrow and everything like that, where they overthrew the government, and all the protests around the world. You had another school shooting that happened in, I think, Colorado.
There was the murder of the Ukrainian girl happened like 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Which was huge until Charlie Kirk happened.
And then there was a guy who got decapitated in a hotel in Texas, which I didn't even hear about until my mom somehow found it. But
lots happened.
Yeah, there's so much that happened, but this just overshadowed everything. So.
And I think that calls back to how, whether we knew it or not, how important Charlie Kirk was to a lot of people, and how impactful his organization really was. Because so you mentioned other countries. So I did some research, and what I found was that there was either vigils, rallies, marches. There was groupings held in memorial of Charlie Kirk in Berlin, London, Madrid, Sydney, Seoul, Vienna, Tel Aviv, Calgary, and even more that I don't remember. There's something in Africa too, I think. I mean, Charlie Kirk has been remembered on every continent almost. I mean, there isn't a place you can go where you won't hear the name of Charlie Kirk at this point. And I think that calls back to just how massive of an event this is. And I honestly, in my opinion, I see this as more than just him being killed. Obviously, that's a huge deal. That was very very hard to watch, in my opinion. To watch a man with 2 small children be murdered in front of his family. That's something that no one wants to see. But I think it's happened, and there's no getting around that. And as Christians, I think we need to use this event as a springboard to change the terrible world we live in. Because, we were recording this shortly after we watched Erica Kirk and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's remarks at the funeral service in Arizona. And one of the things that Erica Kirk mentioned was that at his death, we did not see riots. There was no violence. What we found was that next Sunday morning, there were thousands that came to church that hadn't been in years. People were reading the Bible for the first time. People were praying for the first time since they were kids. It seems to me right now that we are on the cusp of having an actual real revival in America right now. A revival of Christianity and a revival of good people doing good things.
Yeah, you even had people the night of when he got shot who actually ended up having services at their colleges and that, where they would just sing gospels and worship songs to the Lord and stuff. And there was also, I had something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember.
Even if you look at social media, I don't have social media personally, I know you do, but from what I know, there's people all over social media. I keep having people talk to me about this. There's people all over social media who are all of a sudden coming out and saying, hey, by the way, I'm a Christian and I supported Charlie Kirk. And they're losing followers by the thousands, and they don't care. Because his death is inspiring a revolution in the way Christians are living in this world. People are coming out about their faith. People are starting to be public and publicly say, I am a Christian. People are beginning to stop hiding their faith in ways that I don't think we've seen in a long time.
And it's weird too, because you got people who are like Forrest Frank and things like that, who are on social media, and they're Christian artists, singers and stuff. You got Christians artists, you got pastors, you've got Christian sports athletes and stuff, who are saying this stuff, and people know they're Christians. They know that what their beliefs are, because you're in the public spotlight doing that. And yet they'll still lose. I think Forrest Frank lost 30,000 followers.
30,000 followers.
And I'm like, why are you following Forrest Frank if you're not a Christian or whatever, and you just unfollowing because he like talked about Charlie Kirk, like
Exactly.
because the main thing was Charlie Kirk was not like a he was involved in politics, but he wasn't like a big political figure. He was a man just like us who went around and talked about his opinion. He would debate with you. There are very few times where you actually had people get mad, and you had a lot of times where it was just normal conversations. He never really rose up his voice at all, unless you try talking over him most of the time. But it was just conversations, and we need more of that in America, where we can just sit down and have conversations with people. Because as Charlie Kirk said, as soon as you stop having conversations, that's where people start getting divided. If you don't sit down and have conversations with strangers and friends and random people at school and stuff like that, the communication just stops, and that's where division comes in, because you're not talking anymore.
Exactly. Charlie Kirk did politics the way that every single one of us should do things. The way he lived, he did not attack people. He would not. That's something that you see so much in politics today. Is they attack people's their morals. They say, "Oh, you did this in your past. Oh, you did this." They attack their person. They don't attack their views. And what Charlie Kirk was so amazing for was that when he would talk to somebody, there would never be a point where he wasn't demeaning, as is so common today. He would sit down with them, and he would have an intelligent conversation with people. And it didn't matter if they were angry or yelling at him. He would never raise the temperature in ways that a lot of people do now. He was able to sit down with people who he disagreed with on very serious topics, and he could just talk to them. And that's how we need to be in our lives. Me and Riley, we disagree about quite a few things, actually, believe it or not. But we're able to have conversations because we know just because we disagree doesn't mean the other one is any less intelligent or any less of a human. Charlie Kirk understood that.
And everyone's going to have a different opinion. You're not going to have anyone that has the exact same opinion as you.
Exactly.
They might have people that will agree with you constantly, but then they're not speaking about their beliefs. Because like even people who I look up to, I'm like, yeah, I agree about like 99% of what they say, but there's some things I'll hear them say, I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that. And there's people look for, that's one big thing when people are looking for churches. They want to, like, as soon as they hear something that they don't like at the church, they just leave. They don't even talk about the pastor about it. They don't even care about it at all. They just leave. They're like, oh, you said something I don't like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's something we're seeing a lot these days, is people aren't willing to just have a conversation. And that's honestly what led to his assassination, was we are living in a world right now where there are certain people in politics who are unable to not be violent, if I can say it that way. Because, I mean, whenever you have people saying someone else is a Nazi or Hitler, this is the result of that kind of rhetoric. And I know there's a lot of talk right now, people like, bring down the rhetoric, you need to calm down, you need to stop saying such terrible things. I agree with that. Because what's happening is people are basically calling for conservatives and other people that believe like Charlie Kirk to be killed. They're saying that these people are everything that's wrong with society. That what Charlie Kirk represents, his beliefs about God, about family, about politics, about America, they say that's wrong. Everything wrong with society is Charlie Kirk. And do you know what happens when you do that? There are going to be deranged people who are just mentally unstable who are going to act on those words. Okay, I will say both sides have done this in the past and do have problems with demonizing or dehumanizing the other side. There's problems on both sides. But the left, far more than the right, seems to have this problem where they make everything the right does seem to be evil. And they'll basically dehumanize. When you're using language like the left does so often, it leads to things like what happened with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I also want to bring up George Washington when he was elected into being president, even though he didn't really want to be. He was elected in there, and I think he was in there for like 8 years because he was the one who originally created the two-term thing. Well, it wasn't a law until a couple things after. People just followed what he did and did 2 terms or whatever. But one of the things he said is don't create a two-party system because having America divided, it will only weaken us. And that's really what it is. And when you got people in politics who are just saying, oh, vote for me because I'm a Republican, vote for me because I'm a Democrat, vote for me because I'm in the middle and stuff like that. That's where we have issues and stuff. And you got all the media throwing stuff around like, oh, he's sexist, oh, he's racist, oh, he's anti-LGBTQ, whatever. It doesn't, I don't think it, like, these are problems, but dividing us by bringing up these as huge problems and everything and showing it constantly. That's part of the problem with social media. Is like as soon as things happen, it'll be out there. Where some things it can be a great thing, but other times it is a really bad thing and it can be used for bad and stuff. But division only weakens you as a people, and it only weakens our nation entirely. And so, yeah.
And one thing we're seeing a lot on social media is people celebrating his death. And I want to make something clear. I don't know, I don't think you'll disagree. If you are celebrating the death of a young man who had a wife and 2 small children, I do not believe you are a Christian. The Bible is clear. If you're a Christian, it will be evidenced by your works. And if you are celebrating this, I don't see how you can have the Holy Spirit inside of you. Maybe you're just super backslidden. Maybe you're just a very, very carnal Christian. But if you are actively celebrating and happy at the death of someone with a wife and children, I don't believe you're a Christian.
Yeah, celebrating someone's death is probably, like, I don't care, like, me personally, I tend to align with a lot of Republican views, even though I don't necessarily speak out about being like, yeah, I'm a Republican, whatever. So I just tend to go that way just because I believe in that side at all. But if like someone like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden died, I'm like, I'm not gonna cheer for them. No. I'm like, that's a human life, and there's no, like, from what I've seen, there's no 100% like they're going to heaven or they're going to hell. And if they're not going to heaven, they're going to hell, because we're already on our way there. It's God that pulls us out and says, nope, you're coming with me. But just celebrating a human life gone from this world, that a human life is the most valuable thing on the planet, and the fact that between wars and assassinations and things like that, we should be like disturbed by all the deaths that are happening. Like, yeah, you got the Russian-Ukraine war going on. That's been going on since like 2020. Yeah. Why has that not come to a conclusion yet? I know there's been multiple treaties proposed, but not one yet signed. And you've got wars going on around the world. Why are we not settling these disputes? Because there's more human lives that are dying for a cause that can probably be talked out, a cause that can be debated on, and a treaty or a deal signed or some way or another.
That's what I want to say. No matter what direction someone leans politically, no matter if they're left or right, obviously, I don't care. I am very much so a conservative Republican. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything the Republican Party does. Obviously, I do disagree with them in some ways, but that is where I lean politically. And what I will say is, I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're Republican. No one should celebrate the death of a human being, because that human being is someone that Jesus Christ died for. That is someone that God loves enough that he would die to save them. As a human being, it is sick to celebrate the death of a soul that Jesus Christ gave his life for. You're celebrating that one of God's children was killed, and that is not acceptable. That is not behavior that a Christian should have. I mean, obviously, I agree with almost everything Charlie Kirk said. I will be clear. I'll be open right now. There are some people who are like saying you should never disagree with Charlie Kirk right now, all that. But there was a lot of theological areas where I disagreed with him. But as a whole, I followed him. And let's be clear right now. Like Riley said, if Kamala Harris or Joe Biden died, I would not celebrate. And I believe most Christians would not celebrate. Because that is a human life. That is a soul that Jesus loves. And I mean, something I keep seeing is when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. There's a video of Trump when he was told that she died. And it was just so crazy to see the reaction in comparison to what we're getting right now. When they told him that she died, obviously Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a very vocal, strong critic of Trump. Okay, she never agreed with him. She was very open about how much she disliked him. She's very open about how she thought he should not be president and all that. And when he got the news that she died, he did not celebrate. He did not cheer. He didn't clap. What he said was, that is very sad news. I'm very sorry to hear that. And then he said she was a wonderful person who led an incredible life and did some amazing things. When he was told that one of his most vocal haters, essentially, died, he did not celebrate. He said he was sorry because that was a human life. That's where we need to be. But then we flash forward to today, and we see Charlie Kirk dying, and there are people clapping. There was I don't remember if I don't know for sure if this happened or not. I believe it did, but I got this from a secondary source. It was a family member. There was a liberal news station that was reporting on as if he was after he was shot. And when the news came out that he died, the newsroom erupted in clapping and cheering that he had finally died. There are people online, I forget who was, there's someone online who came out and said, finally one of our assassination attempts worked. That's the world we live in right now. And as Christians, we need to stand up and say, no, this is not acceptable, and this cannot be allowed.
Yeah, I know multiple people in news areas lost their jobs because they said it on air, and I know a lot of people have lost their jobs in general because the company found out in one way or another that they posted something about them cheering and stuff. I know that there was a couple of influencers on social media who were going around finding, when they came across these videos, they would figure out where they worked and report them to the company because, like, you shouldn't be cheering over that.
No.
But unless you have something else to talk about, I think we should move on to what it means going forward.
Yeah, one more thing, one final thing. Do you believe, this is going to be more subjective, do you believe Charlie Kirk was a Christian martyr? I'll let you start off that question, then I have an answer.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Do you have a reason, or do you just, is that it?
He was one of the biggest Christian. He was like Paul out there. He would go out and he would debate with people because that's what Paul did. Paul didn't go out and just start street preaching all the time. He wasn't 100% like a Cliff Netchell. He would go out and he would debate with people. There's multiple times in the Bible where you can find stuff like that, where he'd say something and people would say something back and he'd respond to that. That's kind of the way that Jesus preached too, where he would say things based from the Old Testament book, because that was out at the time, and he would say things of, since he was God, what God's opinion was and stuff. And you had people who would reply to him, and he'd respond back and forth.
Yeah.
That's how the preaching was done, and I think that's honestly the best way to go around with street preaching and stuff, is just having conversations back and forth about that, where someone will ask something and you can respond, and if they don't like it, they can say something or ask a question, or maybe you just like go against it or whatever, and you guys can just go back and forth. As long as it doesn't erupt into something violent or a shouting match, I think that's 100% the way we should go.
Absolutely. Personally, I believe Charlie Kirk was a Christian martyr, just like you do. And I see people who are saying that, oh, you can't consider him a Christian martyr, he was killed for his political beliefs. I want to make something clear. Charlie Kirk's political beliefs came from his identity as a Christian, as a follower of Christ. The things he believed about the family, about abortion, about politics, they sprung from his belief in the Bible. And so you can say he was killed for his political beliefs, but his political beliefs came from his Christian beliefs. That's a fact. Charlie Kirk was very strongly against transgenderism, as am I, and as I imagine are you, I hope. He was very strongly against it. He wasn't against it for political reasons, even though he was able to give secular reasons why he was against it. He was against that because he was a Christian. That was his beliefs as a Christian. And that affected how he did politics, how he talked to people, because he was, first and foremost, Charlie Kirk was a Christian. And let's be clear, Charlie Kirk did more in his life to reach people for Christ than most Christians ever will. I mean, that's just the sad truth. Most Christians are not willing to go spread the gospel. They're not willing to go talk to a bunch of people. They're not even willing to hand out a gospel tract. But Charlie Kirk was out there in front of thousands of people, and yeah, he was talking about politics. That was something he did a lot. That was his primary goal when he was going to these universities. But what you'll find if you actually listen to what he said and you watch his interactions, if he was ever asked about his faith or had the opportunity to bring it up, he would without a moment's notice. I mean, immediately that was something. He would never shied away from talking about Christ. And he never feared any persecution for giving people the gospel.
I will probably disagree with you on one part there. I don't think his primary goal was politics. I think his primary goal was the gospel. It's just a lot of people came and asked him questions about fair. Politics and things, policies and that going on.
That's fair.
And stuff like that.
I mean, you could be right. I don't know.
Yeah. I do want to state that I know I saw a couple videos of people that were saying, because if we're moving on to what is going on going forward, there was a couple of people who posted videos that were saying like, oh, he died and it's great because nothing's going to come out of this. Well,
I saw that too.
Looking from what has happened in what past? I think it's been a week.
It's been 11 days.
It's been 11 days.
That's what she said at the funeral.
Okay. I thought it was only a week, but time's flying. Anyways, we have seen hundreds of people follow in his footsteps and go out and start preaching in their city. I've seen people in comment sections go, "Hey, how would I start going out to preach in my town?" Or there's people who, I know there's one person who, I can't remember his name, who unretired because he used to do this, and he unretired to go back into doing it. There's people going out into towns to do things like that. There's people going around their college campuses, and you don't really, like, it's a great thing, like, if you feel like you should go out there or you're called to go out there, but if you don't, then you can do it in your workplace. You can do it in your school. Absolutely. You can do it in your neighborhood. You can do it even around your church and stuff like that. There's hundreds of ways to share the gospel. You don't have to be setting up a table at a big event sitting at a college campus, or you don't have to be going to college campuses hours away, or going to a big city or anything like that. You can go around your small town and go preach there or whatever like that. There's other ways to do it. We've got social media. Imagine if back in Bible times, Paul and Peter and all of them had social media to share the gospel this way. Social media can be an evil tool, but it can also be a great tool. And so I think it's been a great thing of, like, it's sad to see him go, but it's really moved a lot of people a step forward in their walk with God.
And that's the wild thing to think about these days with social media, is that you, a normal person in your house with no fancy equipment, just your iPhone, you can record a video and you could reach more people for Christ than the disciples ever could. You could reach more people with a 13-second video than the disciples could in a year of preaching. Because that's how big social media is. I mean, these videos can get hundreds of thousands of views, even millions of views. People do use social media. And that is a method we need to use to spread the gospel. I mean, there are, believe it or not, people that are against that. They say that, Christians shouldn't use social media. They shouldn't be involved. I disagree. That is the current medium of where people are going to find information. And so that's where we need to be. And Charlie Kirk knew that. I mean, if you look, he was his Turning Point USA, he's always been very involved in social media. And that's part of what's been able to help them grow so incredibly much. And I think going forward, like you said, there's a lot of people now that are stepping out and doing what Charlie Kirk did, and you can do it on your own. And I think that's one of the most important things we need to learn and we need to implement right now. Because like I said at the beginning, I think we are on the brink of seeing revival in America right now. People are going to church that haven't been to church in years. People are changing their lives because they're starting to wake up and see, yeah, the world is terrible. It can't be denied anymore. And as Christians, we need to do everything we possibly can to help push this forward. And if that means going to church again, that's what you need to do. If that means telling people in your workplace about Jesus, that's what you need to do. If you are called, you feel you're called, Jesus wants you to be a street preacher, absolutely go do that. I think the biggest thing we need to learn right now as Christians is that it's time for us to stand up and continue the mission that Charlie Kirk started.
Yeah. Also, with the social media, if you want to start the social media thing, if you want to go in depth, then yeah, videos are a great thing. But if you want to really reach people, the shorts seem to be really the way to go. The shorts, the reels, the Snapchat spotlights. If you post on those short 10, 30-second videos, those seem to be the thing that really get out there more, because like I've had a YouTube channel for 4 or 5 years now for gaming and stuff, and like some of my biggest videos I might get like 100 views on or whatever, but as I started posting shorts, I think earlier this year, maybe late last year, and I've had some hit like 6,500 people. And being a small gaming channel like I have, it's just crazy that one little 10 to 30 second video just reaches out to hundreds of thousands of people way more. Yeah. Now a lot of that is like the tags and that you put in there and everything like that, but you can reach way more people with shorts than you can videos.
Absolutely. I noticed that we did when I released the articles, began writing articles for the website, I released a little short on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, just like announcing it was there. And in Instagram and YouTube Shorts, that little video got more views than most of our podcast episodes. So I mean, he's not lying. It's a fluke that your channel is doing this. It's everywhere. I mean, I know a lot of people who have social media, and they've told me when they post, you can get thousands of views overnight if the algorithm decides to push it. And so if as Christians, we would start, if you're a Christian, you use social media, if you would start posting about Christ, sooner or later it's going to become a thing, if I can say it that way. It's going to become popular. It's going to reach people. Because even if your particular video doesn't, if 1,000 people each release a video talking about Christ, sharing the gospel, and none of them get very many views, over time that's going to add up. If 10 people release a video talking about Christ and each gets 100 views, that's 1,000 people. I mean, it doesn't take long to see the results that America needs right now.
Yeah, and especially for those of you who spend time on social media and stuff, I can attest myself, I have a problem with that, where I spend 2 hours probably a day looking through shorts and stuff like that. I've worked on trying to lower it, and I'm still working on it. But when you're scrolling and you see a post that someone posted about where they talk about God and stuff like that, like it. Throw a comment on there. That helps boost that video up and gets it out there more, and more people will see it. I mean, like, you don't have to share it, but if you send it to maybe a couple friends on your friends list or everything like that, then that not only adds the shares to put it out there more, but your friends can do the same, and that'll also uplift it, and then these videos can become big, and more people get exposed to it.
Yeah, one thing I want to say also, I just finished recording a sermon that I'll be releasing soon. I would encourage you to go out, watch that sermon. I didn't mention it very much. It very much so ties to what I think Christians need to be doing now in the wake of Charlie Kirk, and that is stop being passive and stand up. But a verse I want to point to that I mentioned in my sermon is Romans 12:21. It says, "Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good." That's something I want to make clear, because there are people in the world who are saying that this needs to be met with violence. There's not many of them. They're very small, and they're not a very big group. But there are people saying that. And I want to make clear, you should never respond. Something like this should never be responded to with violence. The Bible, you can't use evil to fight evil. You can't use, just like you can't actually use fire to fight fire. You have to use good to fight evil. Using darkness will not defeat darkness. You have to use light, and you have to do good. It's just something I wanted to make clear. We're talking about, fighting and stopping the things that caused this tragedy that is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But that doesn't include evil. That doesn't mean you should go out and be violent. You need to do what we've been talking about in this episode. You need to spread the gospel. You need to personally grow in your walk with the Lord. Pray, read the Bible, go to church. Because the stronger you become in the Lord, the easier it will be for you to reach other people. And that's what America needs right now.
I know this is like the only thing I really have left. Me personally, I've been talking with my best friend over like the past year, because his family goes to Chicago every year to go and just see like the Christmas lights and stuff like that. I went back in like 21, and I went last year with him. No, it was 2022, and I went there last year with him and his family. And last year, we had happened to miss our train out of Chicago, and it was the last train out. And so while the adults were trying to figure out what to do, me and him went around the subway station, the South Shore line, while we were there. And we witnessed to some of the homeless people there and stuff, and talked to them. I ended up buying some food for one of them and stuff like that. And I've felt convicted, and I've been talking to my best friend over the past year about maybe possibly making a trip to go up there, and maybe over to South Bend or something like that, to do street preaching and stuff like that. And it's a big thing to take on, because like going to a big city like that, it's going to be dangerous. You've got gangs, you've got different things going on, but just taking that step could majorly change a lot of people's lives. I think my sermon that will go up probably after this video was about obedience, and if you listen to the voice of the Lord, which I felt convicted. I still feel convicted for the city of Chicago. I feel like I can maybe make a difference there and stuff like that. Taking that step, I feel like will be obeying the Lord, and there may be rewards, there may not be rewards. I may not see them. The only reward I really need is going to heaven. That's the only reward I care about. So.
And that's something Charlie Kirk understood, because you talked about how it's going to be dangerous to do something like that. And Charlie Kirk knew 100%. He made comments before. He knew what he was doing could get him killed.
He's said it multiple times on videos on social media. He had friends that were saying, he thinks he might get killed for standing up and stuff.
But the important thing about that was he knew he could get killed, and he didn't care. It didn't stop him, and it didn't even slow him down. We as Christians need to have that mindset. The Bible is clear that, yeah, the world will hate us for everything we do. The Bible, Jesus said it. I mean, Jesus said that, like, don't be surprised if the world hates you, because no, they hated me first. The world hated Jesus, and believe it or not, Jesus was killed. He was hung on a cross. Jesus was killed. I mean, he rose again, but I mean, ultimately, the people hated Jesus, and they killed him. And that is something that is a very real possibility if you're out there doing street preaching. But the important thing isn't that you could be killed. It's that you could make a difference with your life. I mean, this is something that I found interesting, is that Charlie Kirk's death has reached more people than most Christians' life. And that's something that we need to think about. Charlie Kirk was willing to die for what he believed in. Charlie Kirk embodied what the apostles did. The apostles were perfectly willing to be martyred for their faith. And Charlie Kirk understood that. And as Christians, we need to understand that.
Yeah, and I've always lived by the quote of, not really a quote, but the standard of, I'd rather die sharing the truth and the gospel than die standing on the sidelines. I'd rather, how do I phrase, I can't remember how I phrased it. But something Charlie Kirk said, I don't remember what video it was on. I think it was fairly recently too, where he said, you kill one of us, 10 more appear. You kill one of us, 100 more. Kill one of us, 1,000 more pop up, and stuff like that. And yeah, I'd rather die sharing the gospel, because either you send me to heaven sooner, or I get to keep trying to spread the word to the truth of the Lord.
Yeah, that's something interesting, is they thought they were silencing Charlie Kirk's message. But in reality, I forget who it was a video I was watching about this subject of Charlie Kirk's assassination. He said this. He said they thought they were going to stop Charlie Kirk's message by killing him, but instead what they did was make it 10,000 voices stronger. Because we're seeing people come out with their faith and come out with their beliefs and standing just like Charlie Kirk did.
Yeah.
And I mean, he inspired a lot of people. And I think as Christians, obviously, he wasn't perfect. I want to make that clear. I hadn't thought to say this sooner. I meant to. He is not God, and he is not Jesus. I obviously don't believe that. Some people are concerned that people are like deifying?
I don't know.
I don't know how to say that word. They're basically trying to say like Charlie Kirk was perfect. Obviously, we know he wasn't. But the Bible is also clear that we can have role models that we can look up to. Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. So I will say Charlie Kirk 100%, he was a sinful man just like I am. But we can still look at the example he set with his life as a Christian, and we can still use that as we live our lives. Because Charlie Kirk was definitely a follower of Christ. I mean, aside from everything he said, you could tell by the way he lived that he was a Christian and that his faith was real. A lot of politicians, they're a Christian. Hey, I'm a Christian. I believe in God and all this other stuff. But as soon as they open their mouths, immediately they're not a Christian by everything they say. With Charlie Kirk, every single thing he said 100% fit with his faith. You could tell he was genuine. And I just think that's something that's important. Because a lot of Christians, you could talk to them for 5 years and you would never know they're a Christian. By the way they talk, the things they say, the things they like, and all that stuff. But with Charlie Kirk, his faith was real. And I just want to make it clear one more time. Obviously, Charlie Kirk wasn't perfect, but I do believe that we can use him as an example to follow in our lives.
Yeah, I know when I remember the exact quote I used. I know when I was talking to my mom about making a trip up to Chicago or something like that, she kind of like afraid. She's like, well, what happens if something does happen or whatever? I'm like, this is something I believe that every Christian should live by, especially if you are a dedicated Christian, true Christian believer. You either, the quote I use and whatever is, I'd rather either I spread the gospel and share the truth, or I die and get to meet my Lord and Savior sooner. Because honestly, as a Christian, why would you want to spend more time here? Like, yes, I can make a difference while I'm here, but if I end up dying, then clearly God has my time to die. I heard a pastor right after Charlie Kirk got shot. He was part of his message. I heard he's like, we all have a clock. We all have so many hours, so many days left to live. And even if like Charlie Kirk wasn't shot that day, he could have been hit by a bus, could have gotten a heart attack or stroke. On his way to the next place, he could have had the airplane crash. Something would have happened because his time was up. God said his time was up. We all have so much time on this earth. It's what you do with it that makes it valuable.
Absolutely. That's all I got. What about you?
That's all I got.
So yeah, I think the main takeaway for us going forward is that we need to not let this moment pass us by. We see changes happening in the world. Anyone with eyes can see that. And we need to make sure we don't waste the things that God is doing. God has opened the world to him in a way that I don't think we've seen in a very long time. And I think we as Christians need to do every single thing in our power to make sure that God's word is pushed forward and that God's word is spread. Because like I said so many times in this little video, I believe we could have revival in America if Christians would be willing to fight. And so I think that's ultimately what the message, what do you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you want to lead us in prayer?
Sure.
Dear God, I pray that you might be with each and every one of us listening to the video, and just that you might be with us and help us share the word and spread the word. Lord, I pray that you might be with Charlie Kirk's family, as they're going to be struggling for a while, and they're going to have a hard time. The kids are going to have a hard time growing up and stuff, knowing without a father and stuff like that. Lord, I pray that you might be with our country right now as it's in turmoil. It's constantly fighting itself. It could collapse any second. It could just outbreak into a civil war, Lord. I pray that you might just help the tensions calm, and that you might help the people who are out there street preaching stay safe and maybe make a difference out there, Lord. I pray that you might help this video to reach hundreds of thousands of people maybe. And I pray that you would be with us as we walk through our daily lives, and that you might talk to us more, help us to recognize your voice, Lord, so that way we might know when you want us to do something or where you want us to go, Lord. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.